Greetings this afternoon. You're here with Doc Ock at noon and 9, and we're feeling real fine. Hope you are too. Getting ready to commence the next part of our story about Mekatilili wa Menza. Mekatilili wa Menza. Yes, Kenyan resistance fighter, female, that helped to bring about an independent and free nation of Kenya. But before we get started, let's go ahead and do our due diligence. And we're coming with our proverb for the day, which is from Ghana. And today's proverb is, crabs don't have baby birds. Crabs don't have baby birds. Think about that one for a minute. Crabs don't have baby birds. And with that, we're going to read we got a little extra piece we're going to include here that is, instead of our poem for today, How the Lion Met the King of the World. How the lion met the king of the world. So you heard the lion was the king of the jungle, but who exactly is the king of the world? That's the real question. So let's see what we got by Zora Neale Hurston, one of the stories that she collected. Y'all been telling a line about all these varmints, but you ain't yet spoke about the high chief boss of all the world, which is the lion. Sack Daddy commented, he's the king of the beast, but he ain't no king of the world. Now Sack Dad Boyka spoke up. He thought he was the king till John give him a straightening. Don't put that lie out, Sack Daddy contended. The lion won't stand no straightening. Of course, I agree with you that everybody can't show the lion no deep point, but John showed it to him. Oh yeah, John not only straightened him out, he showed that old lion where in. When did he do all this, Dad? He ain't never heard tell of it. I ain't never heard tell of it. Dad spoke up. Oh, this was way before your time. I don't recollect myself. The old folks told me about John and the lion. Well, John was riding along one day, straddle of his horse, when the grizzly bear came prancing out in the middle of the road and hollered, hold on a minute. Hold on one cotton picking minute. They tell me you going throwing it that you's the king of the world. John stopped his horse. Whoa, yeah, I'm the king of the world. Don't you believe it? John said. Nah, you ain't no king. I'm the king of the world. You can't be no king until you're me. Get down and fight. John hit the ground and the fight started. First, John grabbed him a rough, dried brick and started to work the fat off of that bear's head. The bear just fumbled around till he got a good hold. Then he began to squeeze and squeeze. John knowed he couldn't stand that much longer. He'd be just another man with his breath done give out. So he reached into his pocket and got out his razor. Oh, suck it now, and slipped it between that bear's ribs. The bear turned loose and reeled on over in the bushes to lay down. He had enough of that fight. John got back on his horse and rode on off. The lion smelt the bear's blood and come running to where the grizzly was laying and started to lap in his blood. The bear was scared the lion was going to eat him while he was all cut and bleeding nearly to death. So he hollered and said, please don't touch me, brer lion. I done met the king of the world and he done cut me all up. The lion got his bristles all up and clashed down at the bear. Don't you lay there tell me you done met the king of the world and not be talking about me. I'll tear you to pieces. Oh, don't touch me, brer lion. Please let me alone so I can get well. Well, don't you call nobody no king of the world but me. But brer lion, I done met the king, sure enough. Wait till you see him and you'll say I'm right. No, I won't neither. Show him to me, and I'll show you how much king he is. Lion squatted down by the bear and waited. First person he saw going up the road was an old man. Lion jumped up and asked the bear, "Is that him?" Bear said, "Nah, that's Uncle Yesterday. He's a used to be." And after the little boy passed down the road, the lion seen him and jumped up again. "Is that him?" he asked the bear. Bear told him, "Nah, that's little Tomorrow. He's a gonna be. You just lay quiet. I'll let you know when he gets here." Sure enough, after a while, here come John on his horse, but he had done got his gun. Lion jumped up again and asked, "Is that him?" Bear say, "That's him. That's the king of the world." Lion reared up and cracked his tail back and forwards like a bullwhip. He bellowed, "You wait till I get through with him, and you won't be calling him no king no more." He took and galloped out in the middle of the road right in front of John's horse and laid his ears back. His tail was cracking like torpedoes. "Stop!" the lion hollered at John. "They tell me you goes for the king of the world." John looked at him dead in the ball of his eye and told him, "Yeah, I'm the king. Don't you like it? Don't you take it? Here's my collar. Come and shake it." The lion and John eyeballed one another for a minute or two. Then the lion sprung on John. Talk about fighting. "Man, you ain't seen no such fighting and wrestling since the morning stars sung together." The lion clawed and bit John, and John bit him right back. Way after a while, John got to his rifle, and he up with the muzzle right in the old lion's face and pulled the trigger. Long, slim, black feller, snatcher back, and hear Bella. Dog damn, that was too much for the lion. He turned go at John and wheeled to run to the woods. John leveled down on him again and let him have another load right in his hind quarters. That old lion give John the bookity book. He hauled the fast male back into the woods where the bear was laid up. "Move over," he told the bear. "I wants to lay down too." "How come?" the bear asked him. "I done met the king of the world, and he done ruined me." Bear lion, "How you know you done met the king?" "Because he made lightning in my face and thunder in my hips. I know I done met the king. Move over." King of the beast meets the king of the world. Didn't turn out so good for brother lion, did it? Yeah, buddy, he learned his lesson good. Now, moving on to Mekatilili wa Menza. I hope we still got time to read this whole chapter here, because I spent a lot of time reading that one there. But we'll see what we can do. The first resistance. Near her husband's homestead in Masindani lived a man called Wanje wa Mwadorikola, a relative of her husband. Wanje had worked on a British farm and had grown to hate these oppressors. Wanje and Mekatilili shared, therefore, a common passion to get rid of these foreigners who were taking their freedom. Wanje was intelligent and strong. It was clear to Mekatilili that he was willing to lay down his life to save the Giriama from the British. Mekatilili realized that Wanje could be a powerful ally in the fight against the British. Wanje also admired Mekatilili for her creativity and independence. She did not fear the British and found wonderful ways of stating ideas which inspired people. In time, Wanje and Mekatilili became friends and started to work together to resist the British. In June 1913, a new provincial commissioner toured the valley of the Sabaki River. His name was Hobley. He was planning to collect taxes the next month before the harvest. This would be the time when homesteads did not have much extra food to give in taxes. It would require the Giriama men to go and work for the British. And that is what the British wanted. A lot of strong men to work on their sisal farms. Mekatilili and Wanje went to hear Hobley conduct a baraza with the people. The provincial commissioner announced that taxes would be collected by headmen, otherwise known as chiefs. The headmen were Giriama men who worked for the British colonialists. Each area was to have its own headman. Hobley also claimed that the land north of the Sabaki River was owned by the British. he said that the Gideama would have to leave it. The best land would be given to the British settlers, and the Gideama men would be forced to work on the British farms. Mekatilili was angry. Who are these people to say that the government needs this land? The Gideama need their own land. What can they be thinking? She had only experienced this kind of feeling once before when she had heard about the slave trade for the first time. Her mother told her that slaves often went for days without food, were mistreated, and worst of all, they were even separated from their families. And now this is happening to us, she thought. As Mekatilili and Wanje were walking away from this gathering, they discussed the new developments. Isn't it amazing, said Mekatilili, that these people think that they can just take our land? Do they expect us to just sit and do nothing? Will we have to fight them, wondered Wanje out loud. We must resist their customs and religion and stay with our Gideama way of life, said Mekatilili with passion. We will start oathing the people, said Wanje. Yes, that can work. If everyone takes an oath, we will be united, she answered. And you, Mekatilili, you must talk to people. You inspire them, said Wanje. Mekatilili smiled. She knew she could talk to people. She did not fear power, even when there were soldiers and deadly weapons. The most important thing for her was to do what is right and what should be, to live rightly and justly and to fight evil. These things were stronger and more important than any guns or soldiers. Mekatilili continued to talk to groups of women wherever she went, and as time passed, the men began to listen too. She began to address whole villages. She wanted the Gideama to return to their old ways and not do anything the British wanted. Our men have been stolen, she said to the gathering of people. Our sons and our husbands. The women trilled in agreement. You know how they do it. We must stop paying hut taxes. Do not pay the tax. You must refuse, she cried. Everyone listened intently. They take our millet, Mekatilili continued, and if the rains fail, they take our goats. These strangers are nothing but common thieves. Cried the crowd. When do you not pay the tax? When you do not pay the tax, they will try to force you. Resist them. This last statement scared them. Did this mean to fight the British? Would that be possible? We can never let our land be taken and our people become slaves, poor and homeless in their own land, she cried. Even if it means death, let us die, but let us die proud to be Gideama in our own land. There was a stunned silence. Mekatilili raised her hand and a hush fell on the people. Many say that the problem is that we have left the ways of our ancestors, she said, looking around at all the people. They say that we must return to our kaya and consult the gods, she said. The people were quiet. This is true. We should return to the kaya and hold fast to our Gideama ways. But, she paused. Everyone waited in expectation. But, she continued, the problem is not that we have left the ways of our ancestors, she continued. No, my people, she cried. It is the British who have left the way of their ancestors and need to be cut down. There were cheers and laughter. People screamed in agreement. Mekatilili had an immense impact on the Gideama people. They listened to her and acted. Crowds gathered when word went round that Mekatilili was coming to the area. People would climb up into the branches of tall fig trees and mango trees to watch her speak. People began to turn away from the new British things, the new religion, the new ideas, the new clothes. The men with trousers put on their shukas. The women stopped using British soap and started using castor oil seeds. People refused to work on British farms and refused to pay taxes. Elders began to administer oaths. People streamed back to Kata Gideama to take oaths, and they became united in their common goal to resist the intrusions of the British. The elders even performed the dreaded Fisi, hyena oath. Only a few elders had advanced far enough to participate in the Fisi oath. Once the oath was made, laws were attached to it. In this way, the governing power of Gideama land was concentrated in the hands of the most senior elders. Wanje wa Mwadori Kola was one of these senior elders. When he and the other elders gathered in the Kaya to administer the Fisi oath, they made special laws for these hard times. The oath forbade anyone from cooperating with the British in any way. It threatened terrible things to any headman who worked for the British against the Gideama. People feared disobeying the laws attached to the feces oath more than anything. Compared with this oath, they did not fear the physical might of the British Army. The headmen began to fear for their lives. Many of them gave up serving the British and joined the Gidiyama. They feared the oaths. They also feared being exposed publicly as a traitor to the Gidiyama. Mekatilili exposed many of these headmen. She would move from one village to another. And speaking in front of crowds, she publicly accused these people of being traitors. One of the headmen was called Mkowa Wagobwe. Mkowa, are you not a headman for the British? She called out in front of a crowd. No, I am not. Did you not take rewards from them? Accused Mekatilili. No, I have taken nothing from them. I am a poor man, insisted Mkowa. That is a lie. You've been selling our young men to the British as slaves and laborers, cried Mekatilili. The crowd yelled in excitement. Mkowa Wagobwe finally admitted, under Mekatilili's pressure, that he was working for the British. Mkowa was terrified of the power of the Gidiyama and their feces oath, and he finally joined the unity of his people against the British. He pretended to the British that he was helping them, but in fact, no longer did anything for them. This happened to many other headmen under the influence of Mekatilili's powerful speaking at Bara. How is it that people listened so much to Mekatilili, a woman? After all, the government of the Gidiyama was mostly conducted by older men. People listened to the oldest men who were elders. Women were often strong and outspoken, but normally did not take a leadership position. But she speaks the truth, said an old man, and she fears nothing, not the British, not their guns, not death, said his companion. And she respects the law of the Kaya, added the first. She is not the one prophesied by the prophetess. It must be so. No, is she not the one prophesied by the prophetess? It must be so. She has become a leader of our people, exclaimed the other. She must be the one Mipoho talked about. The colonial government was losing control. Many headmen turned away from the British in fear of the feces oath. Others who were exposed were no longer effective as workers for the British. Tax collectors were attacked with poisoned arrows. People resisted in every way, and the British were unable to get the labor they needed. British soldiers were not allowed to walk into Gidiyama territory. The British began to realize that they had underestimated the Gidiyama. They now thought that the thing to do was to bring down their leaders. We have to get those old men, said one officer finally. Without their leaders, they'll be like lost sheep. The official leaders were the three most senior elders, one of whom was Wanjewa Mwadorikola. No, that won't be enough. There's a woman, replied another. You are not talking about that terrible witch they have, are you? The one they call Mekatilili or something like that. Mekatilili Menza? Yes, she has more influence over the people than anyone, replied the first officer. They decided to arrest Mekatilili on 17th of October, 1913. A large force of British soldiers surrounded her in the forest. Mekatilili was captured and became a prisoner of the British government. Wanje was arrested the same day in his home in Masindani. Then on December 1st, 1913, the provincial commissioner closed the Kaya. They forced the elders and everyone else to move out to other places and left the whole Kaya empty. In this way, the British thought the other elders who had authority over the people would be scattered and would not be as powerful. The Gidiyama would be weaker without the unifying power of their sacred home and without their leaders concentrated there. Yeah, that ought to do it. Yeah, they fixed them. So they thought. We'll continue with this story in the new day in the very same way. Reading the stories of the elders, reading the stories of our ancestors, our predecessors, is never a bad thing, because that is how we learn what we may have to do ourselves in order to not only gain, to maintain, but to actually gain our freedom. Okay, it was hard for us to see how much freedom we didn't have until this year, when it's becoming quite apparent that we don't have as much freedom in America as we thought we had. Just look around. I don't need to say much else about that. I'll just say two words: Portland and Chicago. We'll see what happens. Meanwhile, this is Doc Ock at noon and 9. Signing off because I've already used up all my time. So I got to go, but I promise not to blow. I will see y'all back here again at 9 o'clock. Doc Ock at noon and 9. Remember to do what you need to do. Sign up, subscribe. Don't miss our next live stream.